Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining the webinar today on new concept of LTM Studies Management with report improvements in NeuroWorks 9.1. I am Francesco Mucci. I am the International Clinical Specialist at Natus Medical for EMEA region. I will be hosting the session and I will be your speaker and presenter today. Before starting with the presentation, I would like to provide you with some general and important webinar information. Natus Neurology Train Academy is a new platform that is focused on educational programs to better support customers in the use and optimization of Natus products. Natus Neurology is committed to support our customers by providing the expert consultancy of dedicated clinical applications specialists for every modality and for every solution we develop. Our team of experts includes physicians, technicians, engineers, and other skilled professionals with years of field experience in a wide range of neurodiagnostics modalities. In addition to the invitation for this webinar, you should have received the webinar calendar for the current year with all scheduled webinars. So if you didn't get the calendar, please ask your regional manager for a copy of it, or visit the Neurology Train Academy website where you can find all the upcoming webinars. You also have a free access to the clinical links section where you can review a collection of valuable documents, among which clinical notes and papers for each modality in the Natus Neurology portfolio. I would like to take the opportunity to inform you that Natus Neurology Train Academy also arranges extra and advanced servicing and system operation training courses. You can also find all details in the website in order to get more information and the link to register and attend the desired trainings. About me, I am a biomedical engineer and I graduated at University of Florence in Italy, and I did the internship at Delft University of the Technology in the Netherlands. I worked for an Italian company for 5 years and I have been working at Natus Medical since 2015. The purpose of the webinar today is to introduce some new software features which have been designed and implemented in order to manage LTM studies and multi-day recordings. We will start with a brief introduction to LTM data management, clarifying the needs of a medical staff which has to take care of all data produced by an LTM study and the benefits that can be obtained by using the new software tools. Then we will discuss a new concept of LTM study type and the slideshow function which help us in managing an LTM study. Since an LTM study can generate a huge amount of data and information, some report improvements have been required and implemented. At the end, I will give you a live demonstration regarding the features we will discuss during this presentation. In contrast with EEG tests or other study types, the LTM applications typically require different equipment and the studies are performed in a complex scenario. For instance, patients who underwent an LTM study aimed at epilepsy surgery are continuously monitored for several days and additional tests can be required in the meantime, like CT or MRI scans. According to the needs, the medical staff can decide to perform both non-invasive and invasive recordings with cortical stimulations for the same patients in order to identify and classify them as possible surgical patients, and so correlate and integrate the outcomes with other tests in order to get a global view of the patient's conditions and the possible surgical scenario. For these reasons, each LTM study can produce a huge amount of data and information, which are crucial for review, interpretation, diagnosis, and treatment. So, an accurate planning, the availability and the quick accessibility of data are required by the medical staff which is involved in the process. As I previously said, LTM studies have to be managed and organized in a different way compared to other studies. First of all, a patient can have multiple recordings which can be linked to the same LTM study, as it typically lasts several days. So the recordings belonging to the same study should be grouped together somehow. Very few customers prefer to get one single recording for each LTM study. Many customers performing LTM studies need to split each single study into multiple recordings. For instance, some of them want to restart the recording several times a day, for instance every 8 hours, whereas other customers prefer to restart the recording every day. In any case, they prefer to generate multiple recordings belonging to the same LTM study because it allows them to easily review data when the patient is still monitored. The LTM study is still going on, but they can start reviewing the previous parts. An LTM study and the whole process involve many professional figures, among which doctors, technicians, and even researchers, and each of them is interested in different aspects of the study. So we should ensure them to easily and rapidly get access to data according to their needs and interests. Previous software versions of NeuroWorks stored and managed the study as independent records, making the review and the reporting of LTM studies a little more time-consuming. With the latest release software, which is NeuroWorks 9.1, new improvements and software tools have been developed and implemented to manage and structure clinical significant data and provide quick access to all data segments. Regarding the way to organize and manage LTM data, NeuroWorks 9.1 has introduced three main new concepts. In addition to the existing EEG and sleep study type, now we have a new study type which is called LTM. In the next few slides, we will see the characteristics and the benefits of this modality. The concept of Slideshow, which refers to a new way to collect, manage, and review annotations and studies. Last but not least, the visit and order management concept, which will not be discussed during this webinar. LTM study is a new study type in NeuroWorks. It actually includes a collection of NeuroWorks EEG studies. When we run a new LTM study, the system will add the corresponding patient to the database and create a group where the recordings which are performed for that patient will be collected. In the example, the patient with the little white squares icon in the red square refers to the LTM study group, and the records below in the green square with the same patient name are the EEG recordings. Clicking with the right button on the patient, you will get a new context menu for the L study type, where you can select the different options in order to start a new LTM study, continue an LTM study, open an LTM study to review, select an LTM set, and create a report based on the LTM set. So, for instance, when you continue an LTM study, you will be able to start and append a new recording to the existing LTM study. You can use the select LTM set command to locate the recordings in the LTM set in order to export, move, or delete them. A new icon will appear in the database when a new LTM study is created. You can create a new LTM study using either the new toolbar option, which creates a new LTM study, or you can get access to the context menu right-clicking on the patient, which will create a new LTM study for the existing patient. When an LTM study is created, it begins recording to NeuroWorks EEG study. Once an LTM study is created in the database, you can continue it by selecting the Continue option from the context menu which allows running a new recording which is added to the study set. You can also resume an LTM study which will resume the most recent recording belonging to the study set. You can open an LTM study which actually assembles a slideshow based on the study set members. The slideshow is stored in the LTM study. We will discuss the slideshow concept later on. You can create an LTM report which creates a multi-study report for the member set. The first NeuroWorks study is used to get and import the patient demographic information into the report. The report itself is stored within the LTM study. You can delete an LTM study, which has the effect of deleting the set members and the LTM study itself. You can also delete single recordings only instead of the entire set. You can export an LTM study, which actually exports the set members, including the LTM study. If you only want to export some set members, you will be able to make a selection of the desired studies instead of exporting the entire study set. You can import an LTM study by selecting a study previously exported and all its set members. When it is imported into the database, the import creates the LTM study and then links the study members. You can prune an LTM study by first opening its slideshow component and select the slideshow pruning option that creates one or more prune studies. The prune studies are imported into the database under a new LTM study. A slideshow is a collection of studies for the same patient and modality, either EG or sleep, which combines and builds a list of annotations from the collection. These can be used to view a set of annotations across the entire collection, can then be used to navigate between the different studies and annotations. When reviewing a study, a user can add an annotation to any marker in the predefined set, which usually correspond to specific users, like EG technologies, physicians, or researchers. We can also define a set for pruning specific events. As I previously said, Slideshow is a new concept in NeuroWorks which has been designed and implemented into the software in order to navigate to regions of interest across a set of studies. The slideshow has two primary functions. The first one, it allows viewing a set of annotations across the entire study set, which is composed by several recordings, so users can use the list to navigate from one NeuroWorks study to another one. For instance, double-clicking on an annotation in the list will be open the associated study and position the timeline cursor to the selected annotation. Secondly, the slideshow defines 20 sets. When reviewing a study, the user can assign a membership to each annotation to 0 or more slideshow sets. Back in the slideshow, the user can define which slideshow set they are interested in. This shows only those annotations tagged as a member of the selected set. You can make a multiple selection of studies and patients by selecting them from within the database and then create a slideshow which will collect and display all annotations in the same panel sorted by data and time. A new icon will appear in the database close to the patient name when a new slideshow has been created. Last but not least, when an LTM study is open in review mode, it will automatically create a slideshow based on the study set members. You can create a slideshow either making a multiple selection of some studies or opening an LTM study set, which will automatically generate the corresponding slideshow. The slideshow panel shows a complete list of the annotations which have been saved in each single study during the recording, and they will be displayed and sorted by data and time. The user can also select an enlarged view where the annotations will be displayed in different panels which correspond to different days of recording, with the opportunity to display up to 8 panels simultaneously. You can customize up to 20 different sets of slideshows. It means that a user can define different slideshows in order to identify and display specific events. For instance, you can customize some slideshows for technicians, for physicians, for researchers, so that when the users enter a node in the study, they will be able to assign the event to the corresponding slideshow. So in review mode, when the slideshow panel is open, they will be able to filter and display the desired events by selecting the name corresponding to the slideshow. You can also include newer studies into an existing slideshow. You just need to make a new selection of studies, including the primary study, which is associated to the slideshow, and then add them to the slideshow by selecting the option from the context menu. The slideshow feature includes the ability to configure ingest rules, annotation filtering, and pruning. The slideshow panel can show the nodes according to specific filters. When a user enables a filter, it will display the desired type of event, for instance, comments, spikes, or seizures events only. A user can customize different tabs, creating different filters. The same feature is available in the annotation viewer. From within the slideshow panel, a user can also select an event type and prune all the nodes belonging to the same category according to the pruning settings that can be customized by selecting on the pruning button. The slideshow ingest options define which types of annotations are to be extracted from within the studies and stored in the slideshow. With the new concept of multiple studies, we have introduced a new method to review the studies. For this reason, also this reporting needed to be improved accordingly. Report templates can be created to report on multiple studies, such as those compiled in long-term monitoring of slideshow studies. A new study set field has been added into the Excel text fields dialog, which includes the multi-study report options. When the report template editor is open, the Excel text fields window will appear, and selecting the study set field, a user will be able to add the desired report options to the template from the list. You can add different types of tables to the template regarding manual or automated events, comments, patients event, stimulations, and so on. When you create a report, the system will automatically populate the tables with the corresponding nodes which have been entered and saved during the recording, and according to the study set and the slideshow ingest options. Before moving on the software, I would like to summarize the main benefits and the advantages of the new concept of Altium Study management. First of all, it allows a fast and convenient way to review and group findings in a multi-day recording. With reference to Altium Studies, now users don't need to find and review regions of interest by opening all studies one by one. They can easily and quickly find the events through the slideshow and open the corresponding study. It allows grouping of findings from multiple patients. We can also use the slideshow option to review different studies belonging to different patients. Seamless navigation from one NeuroWorks study to another, so that users can open and review a set of studies across the entire collection. Slideshow is automatically created when LTM study is open for review. It can be created for legacy studies recorded with the previous versions. And last but not least, Slideshow can be used with multiple patients for presentations purposes. Let's start showing how to create a new LTM study. Let's click on New G and then New LTM Study. So when the study information box is open, enter the first name and last name in order to run the acquisition. So then click on Start. The acquisition screen shows the default montage, so we can change it and start the recording. And once the study is completed, we will save the recording and go back to the database. So a new patient has been added to the database. The first line refers to the LTM study group, and we can identify it thanks to the study name, which is Master LTM, and the new icon, which appears close to the patient name, which is a couple of white squares. The second line refers to the recording. Clicking with the right button, I can access to the context menu where I can select the different options. Begin new LTM study, continue LTM study, open LTM study, select LTM study and create LTM report. Clicking on continue LTM study, the system will run a new acquisition for the existing patient and will append the recording to the LTM study group. So I can change the montage, I can change the sensitivity, I can even start the recording in order to record a new study. Once the study is completed, I can close and save the study and go back to the database. Here I will find a new line which refers to the new recording. So then, if I select Begin New LTM Study from the context menu, I will create a new LTM group for the existing patient. So this option corresponds to the returning function. So once the acquisition screen is open, I can start the recording. Then once the study is completed, I can close it and save it. So a new LTM study group has been added to the database with the same patient name. So you can see the icon and you can see the study name is Master LTM. So and then I can also resume recording by clicking with the right button on the study and select Resume Study. So the acquisition screen opens. So I can start the recording and close the study and go back to the database. So if I open the study in review mode, I can see a gap between the beginning and the end of the study, which is due to the interruption. Okay, so this is the resume study. I can save it and go back to the database. Selecting an LTM study group and then LTM set from the context menu, I can locate the corresponding recordings in the LTM set. This option is useful to easily and rapidly identify the recordings belonging to the same LTM study group. The selector shows all the studies belonging to the LTM study group, and the master LTM study shows the duration of the whole LTM study, which is 51 seconds for this example. It's also useful to export, move, or delete the studies. When I open an LTM study, the system will open the first recording in review mode and automatically generate the corresponding slideshow. I have an empty slideshow because I didn't enter any notes during the recording. We will see the slideshow later on. I can close the review screen, save the slideshow and go back to the database. Now I have a new icon close to the patient name which refers to the slideshow. Let's see now how to delete an LTM study. I can delete the entire LTM study and the corresponding recording just selecting the LTM group and delete it. At the end of the process, all the recordings and the LTM study group will be deleted. I can also delete one single study belonging to an LTM study group, just selecting the recording and delete it, keeping the other ones, or delete the LTM study group. In the next part, I'm going to show how to create a slideshow and the main features of this new tool. I previously created a couple of examples of LTM studies that I can use for demo purpose only. They are not clinical data. Here we have two examples of different LTM studies, each of them with several studies recorded in different days. A slideshow has been created for both LTM study groups. Double-clicking on the webinar LTM study patient, the system will open the first recording in review mode, showing the corresponding slideshow. The slideshow displays all the notes saved during the recordings. I can scroll up and down the list through the days and check the annotations. Once I have identified the event, I can double-click on the note in order to jump to the corresponding EG page. Then, if I select a note saved in a different day, for instance, day 2, the system will open the associated study and position the timeline cursor to the selected annotation. I can also change the view of the slideshow, so I can select an enlarged view where the annotations will be displayed in different panels which correspond to different days of recording. This LTM study set includes 5 days of recordings. So you can easily identify the day and select the note in order to open the associated study and show the corresponding event. You can even select another day and show a different event. For instance, we can select an event from day 5 and open the corresponding study. Then, at the bottom, we can use the filtering window in order to display the event according to the selected types. This list shows all the event types that I can filter and show in the slideshow. The All tab shows all types of events and it cannot be customizable. But I can also create my own filters. For instance, Selecting the F1 tab, only the comments will be enabled and displayed. I can rename the tab in order to easily recognize the effect of the filter. Now, the event list shows the comments, so I can immediately find the desired one and open the corresponding study. I can customize the F2 tab to display the seizure events only. So I select the tab and check the seizure type. Then I rename the tab as Seizures. Now the event list shows the seizure events only, and I can review the desired one. When I select all, I will get the entire list of events. By clicking on Options, I can get access to the settings page where I can customize the slideshow options. I can set a different number of panels to display in the main window. For instance, I can set 4 panels. Now I can display 4 days of recording in the same window. In the page settings, I can also modify other parameters. In the Ingest Options window, I can define which types of annotations are to be extracted from within the studies and stored in the slideshow. In the Configuration section, I am able to customize up to 20 different sets of slideshow so that I can define different slideshows in order to identify and display specific events. By double-clicking on the slideshow 1, I can enable the first set and then I can rename it as Physician, so that I will be able to assign specific events to the slideshow both online during the recording and offline during the review. I can also customize the second set and rename it as Technician. Once the configuration has been completed, click on Apply and go back to the slideshow panel. Now I can identify the events to assign to the set of slideshow. For instance, I can select the seizure event in the day 1. By double-clicking on the event, I can open the information box and assign the desired set of slideshow from the drop list. For instance, I can select the Physician and press OK. Before moving to another event, I have to save, and so I go to File and then click on Save. Now I can select another event, for instance the seizure event in the day 5, and assign it to the same set of slideshow, and then save it. Now I move to another event and assign it a different set. For example, I select Artifact and assign it to the Technician set. Then I find another event to assign to the same set. I can also assign different sets of slideshow to the same event. For instance, I select the EEG event and assign it to both the Physician and the Technician set. Once I have saved it, I can select and use the sets of slideshow to display the events according to the assignment. When I select physician, the system will display the seizure events and the EEG event. When I select technician, the system will display the artifacts events and the EEG event as it's in common with the physician set. I can also use a set of slideshow for pruning an LTM study. The pruning function will create a new LTM study group with the prune studies according to the events which are displayed in the panel. In the case I am going to create a new LTM study set with the 3 prune studies. So I can click on pruning, rename the new LTM study group and select OK. The process may take more time if the LTM study group includes many studies and events. Once the process is completed, I can find the prune study in the database. I have 3 new prune studies and 1 new LTM study group, which includes the prune studies. I can easily identify them by selecting the LTM study group and showing the corresponding LTM set. I can also create a slideshow by selecting different studies belonging to different patients. I can select 2 studies from the LTM study patient and 2 studies from the webinar LTM study patient. Then, by clicking with the right button on the selection, I select Create a Slideshow. The system warns me about the request of creating a slideshow for multiple patients and studies. I agree, so I select Yes. The system shows the slideshow associated to the selected studies, so I can open and review them by selecting the events from the panel. I can use the slideshow set command to identify the studies belonging to the same slideshow group. And then I can add other studies to the set by selecting the studies from the database and then clicking on Add to Slideshow. The system will update the slideshow with the new studies. The reporting has been improved with new multi-study report options in order to import all information and details from a slideshow and an LTM study. New fields are now available from within the report template editor. Clicking on Tools options and Report template, I can get access to the editor. The new Study Set option button is available and it allows establishing the ingest options for populating a report from a slideshow or an LTM study. I can set up specific options which will affect the output of the report. I previously created a slideshow template which includes some of the main new fields. In order to open the editor, I select the template and then click on Edit. When the template is open, the Exceltech Fields dialog will appear. The study set field is the new set of fields which are used to extrapolate data from a slideshow and import them into the report. This is an example of a template with many sections and fields. I added some fields from the study set field, among which table of report image, slideshow table of set associations, table of annotations, table of study information, table of system events. Once the template is defined, you can save the file and close the editor. From within the database, you can click with the right button on the LTM Study group and select Create LTM Report. The system will automatically populate the tables with the corresponding nodes which have been entered and saved during the recording or offline, and according to the study set and the slideshow ingest options. Once the process is completed, the system will open and show the report with the results. Each table shows the references for the studies in order to identify each single recording with the time and the title of each annotations.